Previously on World's Ultimate Strongman, Feats of Strength. Hathor beyond world record deadlift with 501 kilograms. Looks so close to the world record log press with 230 kilograms. Tom Stoltman breaks his own world record in the Atlas Stone hoist with 286 kilograms. Alexei Novikov sets a new world record in the giant dumbbell for repetitions. 11 reps at 100 kilos in 75 seconds. Rhiannon Lovelace sets a new lightweight Atlas Stone record of grams. Stay tuned for Rob Kearney, where he attempts to break his own American log press record.
Massachusetts. From Dr. Seuss's children's stories to the philosophy of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the literature of Massachusetts has inspired us all. The birthplace of basketball has had a profound impact on the history of America. It has the world's oldest functioning written constitution in continuous effect. The capital city, Boston, is known as the Cradle of Liberty because of its central role in the American Revolution. With some of the most prestigious institutes of higher education in the world, Massachusetts is a global leader in biotechnology, engineering, and finance. The state with the highest average IQ is home to a man striving for the highest strength. Rob Kearney puts the mass in Massachusetts. Today he is attempting to break the American log lift record, live from Power Station Studios in Cheshire, Connecticut.
We are live from Cheshire, Connecticut, United States. I'm your host for this evening, Derek Poundstone, and I have two co-hosts from a distance away. We have Mark Boyd from Dubai.
How's it going, Derek?
Oh, fantastic. And then, of course, the great Lawrence Chalet, or Laws, from England.
How you doing, Derek? It's good to see you again.
Oh, man, it's good to be here. For those watching, we're live on ESPN, being streamed live from Gymshark, from Rogue, and Core Sports. It's an unprecedented event with an unprecedented athlete. What we're seeing here today is really the culmination of decades in the sport of strongman, and the fact that we can be here doing this is fantastic. And for those that don't know who I am, maybe you saw me on ESPN a few years ago, but I used to compete in this sort of stuff, and I'll be kind of walking you through this record attempt today. What do you guys think about what's going to go on?
I'm really looking forward to it. From watching Rob and his training, I think he's going to get it today. He's been so efficient, and he's peaked very well with the 214 kilos as his peak lift, so I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, he's looking very, very confident. He's got this record today. He wants the world record, not just the American.
My name is Rob Kearney. I am 28 years old from Massachusetts in the USA. I am the current American log press record holder and the only openly gay professional strongman in the sport. I started strongman when I was 17 years old. I was about 5'9", 5'10", and weighed a little over 200 pounds, and wasn't really that strong, but I really enjoyed the weight room and getting stronger and learning the different techniques of the lifts. I would actually go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning before school, get my workouts in, and really learn the basics of the weight room. From there, I walked into the gym one day. It was a Tuesday morning. They said, "Hey, Rob, there's a strongman contest this weekend, and we signed you up for it." I had never done the sport. I had never touched an implement, and I really didn't know what to expect, but I went anyway. I had an absolute blast. I took last place and really just fell in love with the sport of strongman and really just kind of getting better at the craft. I became pro in 2013 by winning the Amateur National Championship. I also broke the world log press record in that weight class by pressing a 410-pound log at a body weight of 231. I then moved to the open weight class, which is the heavyweight division that I compete in now with all the big guys, and have done that since 2017. That being said, I am one of the smallest athletes on the pro circuit, being 5'10", about 285 pounds, competing against guys like Brian Shaw, Thor Bjornsson, all these monsters of the sport. It's one thing that really excites me, and being the underdog at every competition. Luckily, I've been pretty successful. Like I said before, I am the current American log press record holder with a lift of 471 pounds or 214 kilos. I am also a North American champion for Giants Live back in 2017, and I also won the Arnold Australia in 2019. I've made 3 World's Strongest Man appearances, hopefully 4 this year, and have just been progressing in the sport ever since. As far as accomplishments go, I've been pretty fortunate and been pretty successful in the sport throughout my career. I would say my biggest accomplishment, though, is making it to the 2 biggest competitions in the sport of strongman, and that's World's Strongest Man and the Arnold Strongman Classic. Back in 2017, when I made my heavyweight debut, my first competition, I won and was able to qualify for the Arnold Classic in Africa, which was great, and by doing so, caught the eye of the people at World's Strongest Man. In 2017, I was given a wild card invite to World's Strongest Man to make my first appearance and to be the first openly gay man to compete at World's Strongest Man. So that would be one of my biggest accomplishments, but also qualifying for the Arnold Strongman Classic in Columbus, Ohio, which is seen in the strongman world as one of the most elite competitions to qualify for, as only 10 athletes compete at that show. I did that by winning the Arnold Australia back in 2019. At that contest, not only was it one of my most memorable wins, but it was also the most memorable weekend of my life, because the next day after winning the contest, I was able to marry my husband, Joey, and Arnold Schwarzenegger treated us to a nice yacht ride and dinner after the wedding, which was surreal to say the least, and kind of the icing on the cake, if you will say, for a perfect weekend in Australia, which was absolutely amazing. So those were certainly my biggest accomplishments so far in the sport. I think that's one thing that I really love being a message for, is just never letting anybody put limitations on your expectations and what you can achieve in life. And that's my biggest aspiration, is to leave that kind of legacy in this sport. So winning is amazing, and I have a lot of fun doing it, as we all do. Competing is also one of my favorite things to do, but leaving that positive legacy of determination and grit and showing people that anything is impossible is really what I'm trying to achieve in this sport of strongman. My biggest advice for anybody watching is a quote that I kind of came up with my first year at World's Strongest Man, and that's train to be the person they said you would never become. Never setting limitations on yourself and always achieving for greatness is really something that has propelled me in my career for strongman and got me to where I am today. And that's something that I think can be extrapolated across every aspect of life and not just in the gym.
Since 1983, we've been here for you, Connecticut. At your strongest. At your loudest. At your proudest. At your fastest. And at your happiest. And in the future, we'll be here when you need us.
We are a community dedicated to those who love fitness and food.
We have a mission to show that you can pursue your personal fitness goals and enjoy the process.
We are committed to creating a community where you can be and should be proud of your body.
No matter what stage of the fitness journey you are on.
From fat to fit.
Hit them PRs, make them gains, and eat that donut.
Join the brand, join the message, join the movement.
And welcome back to the World's Ultimate Strongman, Feats of Strength. We are going to go through the rules and regulations for today and the attempts that Rob Kearney will be going through. His first attempt will be 190 kilograms, that is 418 pounds. His second lift will be 202 kilos, which is 445 pounds. And then his American log press attempt will be 216 kilos, which is 476 pounds. Massive weight.
Really is a crazy weight. This guy is the absolute smallest athlete competing at the very top level, and he doesn't let that hold him back. He wants he wants American records, he wants world records, and he's not letting anything stop his progress.
And if we look in there, we've got the man himself, the greatest of all time, Zydrunas Savickas. He is a sort of overwatching all these feats of strength, making sure they are 110% good to go.
He looks very, very serious today. He's got a great love for the log record. Obviously, he is the current world record holder. But as we saw with Luke's attempt, he's very, very strict on all these attempts, and you know we're going to have to see good quality lifts to break these records.
So a few points to note on the rules. The lift must be completed from the floor to overhead, fully locked out, head through the movement. I think one to watch out for is Rob Kearney and his split jerk. This is allowed in this attempt today.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of controversy online about the way he lifts the log, but it's actually an extremely difficult thing to do. A lot of people kind of say it's not a genuine kind of lift because he's not strict pressing or push pressing like the majority of guys do. But there's so many top Olympic lifters that have tried to come over to Strongman and failed to be able to jerk a log. The diameter is so much bigger than a bar. It forces you in like a compromised position. So to master this movement, it requires so much core strength, so much leg strength, and he's right now the absolute best at it in the sport.
Yeah, and one thing to note, he's going to have to make sure he locks it out and holds it there until the man himself, Z, gives him the down signal, which is going to be an interesting one, especially we're on live, and we're all across the world, myself in Dubai, Loz in the UK, and Big Z in Lithuania. So we're very spread out, but this is going to be how it's done today.
Yeah, it's a real global event, this.
So the first attempt will be 190 kilograms. This will sort of dictate how Rob will perform today, I think. He needs to aim for a very smooth and efficient lift.
Yeah, this first lift is all about kind of getting the feeling right from Zydrunas. Zydrunas, obviously, when you're refereeing from a distance, there is a slight delay in the connection. So Rob's going to have to hold this lockout half a second longer than maybe he would in a competition. So he's going to try and use this first attempt just to kind of settle his nerves. He's going to use a weight that he knows he can handle quite comfortably. I mean, we're still talking 190 kilos, almost 420 pounds. So,
which is crazy, absolutely crazy.
Let's go back to the original log record holder. It was Bill Kazmar. He was the original American record holder, and he took it all the way up to 170. Rob is starting with 190. That's how impressive these athletes are today.
Speaking of the log press attempt here, the American record, let's introduce the amazing athlete that we're here for today in a short time. But I got a question. Do you think that the wooden log makes a difference as opposed to like a calibrated steel log? I mean, we know we weighed it, but what's your take on that?
I think it definitely makes a difference. I think it's a lot tougher. Obviously, the lacquer that's on the log, the texture of it's a bit different to the metal. I definitely think it makes it more difficult. What do you think, Lods?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Strongman, we always use different bits of equipment at different contests. So, I've used some logs that are kind of slightly thinner, they're slightly longer, and you don't always get a perfect balance with a wooden log.
Well, Lawrence,
these modern ones though, they're made extreme.
Well, I'm sorry. With that, we could talk about the log, and I like to talk about that a little bit later. But I want to introduce the athlete we're here today for, Rob Kearney.
What a grand entrance there from the man himself, Rob Kearney. We're up for attempt number one. As I said before, 190 kilos, 418 pounds. This will set the tone for today. I know the entrance did anyway.
Yeah, Rob's ready for this. He's always a bright character. Obviously, he's got his leggings and his hair, the way he likes to do them. But he's a serious contender. He has all the fun side to him. He's a very likable young man. He's very popular amongst all the athletes. But he's seriously strong as well. He's not just here to make up numbers. This guy is an absolute beast when it comes to many events. And obviously, we're using his favourite today, the log lift. He's really set his name on. He took the American record off the impressive Robert Oberst a few years back at Europe's Strongest Man and the World Log Lifting Championships. Took it up to 214 kilos. That's a massive weight, and it wasn't long ago that was the world record.
You can see him there, psyching himself up.
Come on, Rob.
He steps up to the log.
Here we go. First attempt now. He's going to roll it up into his chest. Sits down, powerful hitch.
Efficient, nice and smooth.
Nice.
This is where we're going to see a nice technique.
Look at that.
The split. And a good lift there from the man himself, Rob Kearney. He looks happy. He seems satisfied. A little smile there. A cheeky smile.
Yeah, that lift was all about settling the nerves. The first one is always the hardest. When you go from those warm-ups to your first attempt, it just settles the nerves. Sometimes you don't want to go too heavy on that first attempt. You just want to get used to the platform, used to the referee signals. But look at his technique. He really gets the log nice and high up on his clavicle, squeezing the elbows together, powerful dip from the legs, and he just gets straight under the log.
Yeah, he snaps the arms and drops under, steps into it. This is efficient Olympic lifting from Rob.
Just a well-trained athlete. That's exactly what he is. He's not about brute strength. There's a hell of a lot of power there, trust me, but he's focusing on power and technique.
What do you guys think of I'm sorry, I want to interrupt real quick. What do you guys think of the, we talked about the larger diameter log and we talked about the clean, the split jerk, but what's your thoughts on the clean? That's one thing that I've noticed with working with Rob for a period of time is his clean seems to be a little bit more explosive than a lot of the heavier athletes that sort of just sit on their body and stand up with it. What's your kind of thoughts on, Mark specifically? You've been watching the sport for a bit of time and watching a few record attempts. His clean.
His clean is so effective simply because he sits down underneath the log. And he really focuses on rowing it into sternum and using his legs to actually power and clean up, rather than using his arms. Obviously, being a shorter guy, he's got shorter leverages, so he uses the powerhouse legs to drive that clean up.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately we're going to see that today as he goes on through the lifts. So.
Oh, definitely. I mean.
We started with a can, added 200, no 250, no 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, extracted from plants. Yeah, plants. So you could do this, but not this. Vitamins B3, B6, B12, you're welcome. BCAAs, that just happened. Plus electrolytes, because sweat, and CoQ10, because we had room. And then we made it taste good, without the sugar. Now, go drink it. That's how we made Rain total body fuel.
Since 1983, we've been here for you, Connecticut. At your strongest. At your loudest. At your proudest. At your fastest. And at your happiest. And in the future, we'll be here when you need us.
I'm Stan Efferding, founder of The Vertical Diet. So Rob Kearney reached out to me about 10 weeks ago for help with his diet. And so we got on a call and he had two goals. He wanted to beat the American record in the overhead log press, and he wanted to lose weight. And those aren't really compatible goals. I believe that mass moves mass. So he said he didn't feel very good at that weight, which is understandable because a lot of big athletes tend to suffer from some symptoms of metabolic syndrome, things like high blood sugars, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I'm Stan Efferding, founder of the Vertical Diet. So Rob Kearney reached out to me about 10 weeks ago for help with his diet. And so we got on a call and he had two goals. He wanted to beat the American record in the overhead log press, and he wanted to lose weight. And those aren't really compatible goals. I believe that mass moves mass. So he said he didn't feel very good at that weight, and which is understandable because a lot of big athletes tend to suffer from some symptoms of metabolic syndrome, things like high blood sugars, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I had him get a comprehensive blood test, and it turns out the results were actually quite good. Some things that stood out, though, that I thought could be great for performance, his glucose and HA1C were normal, but those are lagging indicators. So we looked at his fasted insulin. That too was in the normal range, but it was on the high end. And I thought that was a good opportunity for us to improve his insulin sensitivity. He also had low vitamin D, so there was an opportunity there for improving performance and just his general sense of well-being. And his thyroid was kind of at the lower end of normal, which is typical with these big athletes. So what do you do with all of that? Well, I didn't have time to drop weight. We couldn't diet him down and bring him back up to be as strong. So typically I intervene with some methods to help with metabolic syndrome. One is sleep. A lot of those big athletes end up with sleep apnea and need a CPAP. Rob's sleep was fine, so we didn't have to do that. He started taking 10-minute walks after every meal, which is hugely effective for blood sugar control, twice as effective as metformin, which is the #1 prescribed medication for diabetes. We also put iodine in his diet with some cranberry juice. That would help his thyroid. We balanced his sodium and potassium intake. Sodium's really important for performance, for energy and for recovery. And so what we needed to do is make sure he got adequate potassium so there was a good balance so he didn't have any water retention. And we do that with things like potatoes and fruit. We supplemented vitamin D. It's hard to get from food. Vitamin D also helps increase calcium absorption by up to 20-fold. So when we put more Greek yogurt into his diet, he benefited from that, which improves nerve signaling and muscle contraction. So that was beneficial. Also adding choline into his diet, just through 6 whole eggs a day, 1,000 milligrams. That really helps the liver to recover from any damage from metabolic syndrome. Supplements that we added were NAC, N-acetylcysteine. That helps with glutathione production, and we threw in some magnesium at 400 milligrams a day. Things we avoided were vegetable oils and high FODMAP foods to help with his digestion. Things we include, of course, in the diet is going to be red meat. It's 3 times as high in iron, 6 times the B12, and 9 times the zinc of chicken. So primarily went with red meat. Of course, the eggs and the yogurt and salmon a couple times a week. That wrapped up his protein intake. We threw bone broth in there, always helps with digestion. So his macros ended up at about 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein, about 280 grams a day. His fats we kept on the low end, 0.3 to 0.4 grams per pound, left us a lot of room for carbs. And once we satisfied his micronutrient requirements, then we mostly drove white rice, easy to digest, and could get him his total carbs in, or total calories in for the day, which was important to maintain his weight. He actually gained a little bit of weight and felt much better. His body composition improved and his performance improved. He went from 10 weeks ago, barely, I think he might have missed a 400-pound log press in training, to 2 weeks ago he hit 5 singles with 450, and last week hit a 471. I think he's right on target to break that record. I'm really looking forward to that. And even more so for what he can do in the fall at the World's Strongest Man, where I think he can get on the podium. So good luck to Rob.
So we are back for lift number 2. It's nice to hear from his nutritionist there, Stan Efferding. He's obviously got a good team around him with Derek Poundstone and Stan Efferding backing him.
Fantastic team. I know Stan's working with a number of the top World's Strongest Man athletes, and obviously who better to be in your corner than the legend that is Derek Poundstone.
Well, it's a very nice word.
Lift
there.
number 2 is 202 kilograms, 445 pounds. Again, setting the tone for his record attempt.
And this is a huge. This was a weight that just people dreamed of not that long ago. Now it seems there's a number of guys hitting over 200. But for Rob, this is still a warm-up. He's going to make sure he gets that log nicely tight on his laps. Powerful, powerful hip drive to get it up as high as he can on his chest, right into your neck, onto the clavicle. He wants the elbows squeezed up and together, and then it's all about powerful legs.
And he snaps it through, controls it overhead, and he holds it there for a few seconds for good measure. Do you think he'll be satisfied with that lift?
No, I don't. I think he would have wanted better, but he's the type of athlete that can correct it. He's a very technical lifter. He knows that he can do better than that, and he's going to think about making sure he does exactly what he needs to do for the next attempt.
Yeah, and look how low he sits down in. He pulls it into his sternum, that clean. A little bit shaky on the legs at the top of the clean there, but this press, I love this technique. I mean, he has a little step back, but he managed to recover and stabilise the press.
Having the confidence to get under that weight as quickly he does, it's part of the skill, but it's a very, very difficult thing for a lot of athletes to do. That's 200 plus kilos. If you don't time that right, it's coming back down and it's going to crush you. But he just jumps right under it. It allows him to get those triceps in if he needs them. And one thing I just wanted to point out is a real good tip for up and coming lifters. Look how he slightly tilts the log backwards. He doesn't have it flat. He has it tilting back slightly right into his neck, and that allows him to punch the weight back and over his head rather than allowing it to go forward and come away from him.
Yeah, and he's got all his joints behind the log. He's got, obviously, the ankle, the knees, the hips, the elbows and the wrists. I think they are going to go in for the weighing of the final lift here, the 216 kilograms. The guys are just getting the plates on there. Hopefully Big Z will be looking on and making sure the guys on the ground have got this fully weighed to the correct measures. Again, we want to make sure everything's super precise, on point, especially with these world record attempts and the fashion that it's been done in. We want to make sure they're all legit.
Yeah, every single week we weigh the equipment, making sure that these records are 100%.
Since 1983, we've been here for you, Connecticut. At your strongest. At your loudest. At your proudest. At your fastest. And at your happiest. And in the future, we'll be here when you need us.
We are a community dedicated to those who love fitness and food.
We have a mission to show that you can pursue your personal fitness goals and enjoy the process.
We are committed to creating a community where you can be and should be proud of your body.
No matter what stage of the fitness journey you are on.
From fat to fit.
Hit them PRs, make them gains, and eat that donut.
Join the brand, join the message, join the movement.
Welcome back to Cheshire, Connecticut, and this historic event as Rob attempts to break the American record held by himself. What are you guys thinking, Mark, in regards to that last lift, which was actually 455? You jumped it up a little bit. What's your thoughts thinking this last attempt?
I honestly think he's still warming up. I know with the log press, in terms of fatigue, it's obviously a lot less than the deadlift. But I really do think he's still warming up. He's still getting his technique channeled in, dialed in, and I'm still confident that he has his American record smashed. I think he's going to smash it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he's looking very confident. I said then that he probably wouldn't have been happy with that lift, and I still stand by that. But he's such a technical lifter. He knows what he needs to put right for this last attempt. He's not fatigued himself at all. His clean has been effortless on every single rep. As long as he can maintain that form and just reproduce what he does in training, this weight is going up.
Yeah, I agreed 100%. One thing that I'd like to point out is being here today, watching Rob do what he does best, which is just not just lift big weights, but he's just a fun guy to watch. It reminds me of I met him, just almost 12 years ago when he was a young guy, just starting college up the road in Springfield, Mass. And he told me that he wanted to compete in strongman and wanted to be a heavyweight, and he weighed not even 200 pounds at that point. And it was shocking, to see a guy with so much drive and determination. And then, you hear that so much, but then to follow through and take those steps, I think it's a testament to, the human condition of how, given a challenge, we either face it or we crumble before it. And Rob, time and time again, just accepts the challenge. I think that's what I've taken away as, his coach the last couple of years, and that came about kind of in a weird circumstance. I'm not sure if you guys know the story, but he had asked me for a period of, I would say about a year or so, and I wasn't really interested. I wasn't at a point in my life where I really wanted to coach athletes, because I'm not sure. Well, both you guys know. I mean, athletes are tough, and it's something that you really have to dive headfirst into. And if anything goes good, it's fantastic. But if anything goes bad, it's kind of your fault. I mean, at least if you're a good coach, you have to look at it from the perspective of, you have to control the athlete and the way they think, so that they feel confident. And it's a big task. And Lawrence, being a strongman athlete for a long period of time, how did you deal with the training and the build up for competitions and records?
Yeah, I mean, it's very stressful, but this is obviously what we all do. We train hard to be the absolute best we can be. One thing I will say about Rob is he inspires so many people, and like you just said, he doesn't let his size ever affect what he's capable of. He always focuses on just getting better, improving, focusing on those next steps, and not putting a cap on what he's capable of. And that's what I love about this man. He really, he just puts he's got so much potential, and he just keeps driving to be the absolute best that he can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, you've been around athletes for a period of time, and you're a high level lifter, competing in strongman in the 105 class, the 231 class. What was something that you did necessarily to reach that challenge to become, one of the best in the world at a sport?
I think it's a very big mental game, and as you said before, it's such an independent sport, or an individual sport. So all the pressure is on you. At the end of the day, you can't blame teammates or anything like that. It's up to you to perform, and I think Rob is taking the pressure on today, no problem. It's one of those things that can affect athletes in a negative way, or they can channel it and make it a positive.
Absolutely. And you know, one thing that I think is important to touch upon, I remember back in 2014, you know, I got a phone call from Rob, and he had explained that he was coming out as openly gay. And I remember that, you know, I was like, well, why would you, you know, okay, you know, but what does that mean for an athlete? Like, I didn't really understand, you know. And it took me like 5 or 6 years. I remember he was preparing for World's Strongest Man last year, and I remember a mother of a teenage boy came up to him and thanked him for being an openly gay athlete. And it was at that moment that I realized the importance of someone like Rob being out there and being who he is. You know, before that, I didn't really understand because I didn't walk in those steps. I don't have an appreciation for what it means to be, you know, living in the shadows or being scared to be who you are. And, you know, him being, you know, a gay athlete at this level, I think it speaks volumes for, you know, how far we've come, you know, not just as strongmen, but as a society. And, you know, I'm proud to be not only a close friend, but to be associated with Rob in any way, shape, or form, because, you know, he's taught me so much more about, you know, myself and understanding the things that I think are important in my life. And with that, we're going to go and weigh this log and get into the final lift, the American record.
Hopefully we're going to get Big Z brought into the picture now. Make sure that this log is at the weight of 215.8, 475.75 pounds to be precise. You can see him there looking in. Hopefully we can get a nice close-up of the monitor there on the scales. Camera just focuses. That's 215.
We have the American record set now. This is the lift that counts. As always, the first few, they're just about warming up. They're just about getting your mind set. 215.8, give or take, kilos there.
Was it you normally say 216 on Instagram, is it? There we go, 475.
No, this is a 220 Instagram, but we got to be strict.
Yeah. And for all you Americans out there, there's the pounds, 475 pounds. That's crazy weight, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Bear in mind, there's only one man so far that has lifted 500 pounds, and he is the man sat judging today.
Yeah, the greatest of all time, the legend himself, the world's ultimate strongman official referee, Zydrunas Savickas. He is the current world record holder for this event, the log press. So what do you think is going through Rob Kearney's mind in the back?
Rob is, as always, sat focused on what he needs to do. There we go, we see him there. He's just focused, imaging what he needs to do in his head. He's done it a million times in training. The technique, we know how good it is. He's a very, very smart lifter. We've mentioned before, he doesn't just lift with brute strength. He's a strong man with excellent technique, and that's what makes him such a great athlete. And I try and reiterate this all the time when I'm talking to people. Don't just go in with brute strength. Be effective, be efficient, treat it as a sport, and be good in every single area. And that's what this man does well. So now it's all about focusing, getting himself in that kind of fight or flight sensation. So he's kind of getting himself G'd up. He really wants to be able to release every bit of power he has in that body and use every single muscle fiber in his body to put this weight overhead.
Yeah, and just before we go into the final lift, a quick thank you to our sponsors, the title sponsor, Rogue, our supporting partner, SBD, our fueling partner, Rain Body Fuel, and our apparel partner, Gymshark. You can see there, Rob Kearney, a Gymshark athlete, and with the Gymshark text striped across his chest, they're supporting him in this lift. And as an athlete, which is the first of its kind as part of this apparel company, as a strongman, which is interesting to see. So the guys are getting the log set up on the padding here.
It's great seeing these companies support these strongmen and these events. It's what we need to take this sport to the next level. And guys like Rob are kind of charging and kind of bringing the sport to a whole new audience.
Yeah, he's inspirational in many ways. Many ways.
He really is. I mean, Derek said it just before, but I always just saw Rob as another competitor and, you know, just a lovely person. But when you see what he has kind of gone through, the amount of people he's inspired, I really hope he gets this record, not just for him, but for them as well.
Yeah, and here we go, where Rob's strapping himself in, he's wrapping his wrist wraps on. He's going to get his mindset ready for this. The chalk's getting applied just to make sure there's no sweat. He's got good grip. He G's himself up here. He steps up to this log, gives a quick nod.
Here we go.
We're going to get Big
Take
Z
your
patched
position.
in.
Jonas is on watching.
Lift.
Now we go. Come on, Rob. 100% focus on this lift. Lots of power then through the clean. Rolls it up
This is
to
the
his shoulder. Nice and tight.
Here we go.
Come on! Hold it!
And he's
Good lift.
Yes! And he made it look comfortable. Look at that.
Phenomenal lift there. Punch in the air. Strikes. What a lift. And you can see his husband there celebrating with him. Fantastic to see.
Absolutely brilliant lift. He made that look better than the second rep. So much power in there. So much confidence in himself. What a fantastic lift there. And a new American record by Rob Kearney.
Yeah, he sweeps his old record to the side. He takes this new one, 215.8 kilograms, 475.75 pounds. Fantastically done. This drop down, he's super low. The hips are nice and low. He pulls it into his sternum, nice and explosive up in the clean. And then he goes into that split jerk. And at the top there, he did it again. He held it at the top for a good few seconds. Which shows that he has control of that weight.
And look, he had to press it out as well. If people kind of say it's just all about kind of the split jerk, he used his triceps to lock that out, and then look how comfortably he held it. Absolutely brilliant lift there by Rob.
And I love it. The enthusiasm that is just exploded from him there is fantastic. The passion is definitely shining.
I think he had a fair bit more in him as well, to be honest. That was a good lift. Really, really strong.
Yeah. There was no doubt that he had it there.
Now we need to push him to go for a world record.
Yeah. So we get some more weight on there.
Yeah. That's nice to see. Look how happy they both are. I mean, we know this year it's been so hard for the athletes not having the contest to train for, and you can see how much it means to him having this record attempt today.
Yeah, definitely. It means the world to him, and this is something that is his speciality, and it's fantastic to see a smaller athlete hitting these numbers. It's again, it's inspiring. It's inspiring.
Here goes the girl.
We started with a can, added 200, no 250, no 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, extracted from plants. Yeah, plants. So you could do this, but not this. Vitamins B3, B6, B12. You're welcome. BCAAs. That just happened. Plus electrolytes, because sweat. And CoQ10, because we had room. And then we made it taste good, without the sugar. Now, go drink it. That's how we made Rain total body fuel.
Since 1983, we've been here for you, Connecticut. At your strongest. At your loudest. At your proudest. At your fastest. And at your happiest. And in the future, we'll be here when you need us.
We are a community dedicated to those who love fitness and food.
We have a mission to show that you can pursue your personal fitness goals and enjoy the process.
We are committed to creating a community where you can be and should be proud of your body.
No matter what stage of the fitness journey you are on.
From fat to fit.
Hit them PRs, make them gains, and eat that donut.
Join the brand, join the message, join the movement.
And we're back in Cheshire, Connecticut with the one and only Rob Kearney, the now, second or third? Well, you also have a 410-pound a world record for the lighter athletes. But what do you think about your lift?
It felt good, when I first got the call from World Ultimate Strongman that they wanted me to go for this lift. To be honest, I was a little bit nervous because I was just off of the Arnold. I hadn't really trained log too seriously, and I didn't know how it would go. But fortunately, with some great training, coaching, and everything just kind of came through at the right time, it felt really good. I think that this isn't the goal. The American record is great, but after some conversations with you, I think there's something bigger that we're hoping for in the future.
Well, Rob, it's funny, and for those that are watching that maybe have lifted a log before or haven't or don't know really anything about the sort of strongman, one thing to realize too is, when you look at Rob weighing in, right around 290, this is over 1.5 times his body weight. That's significant. I mean, there's people that can't bench that or deadlift that. In addition, the world record for the log press for the open class for guys that weigh anything over 231 pounds is 502.5 pounds. That's actually just under a 6% increase in weight. So, the American record is amazing. I mean, but what's your thoughts on, that 5%? Do you think you have what it takes to set a new world record?
I think based on, my current body weight, where I'm going, where everything is kind of trending in my training, I think a world record is within reach. The fact that we went from, going, like Stan mentioned before, I was missing a 400-pound log press just a few weeks ago, and now the fact that I hit the 475.75, I think with some serious training and just kind of dialing it in, I think a world record's definitely within reach.
Well, absolutely, and what's I alluded to it before. You actually have a world record as a lightweight athlete you set quite a few years ago. What do you think that the importance of having that record as a lightweight, was to your desire to have an American record and openly an open world record? I
think it's just, the culmination of years and years of training. I think I mentioned it. I've mentioned it before where I really set these small attainable goals for myself that I knew I could achieve. And starting with the 105 world record, jumping up to the opens, and just increasing that log press strength over the course of the years, I think, the next stepping stone after the American record is just to get the world record. This was absolutely an amazing day. It's, something we've worked towards for a long time. I just want to say thank you to my husband for his amazing support and everything he's done for me to get me through to this place. Thank you to my sponsors. Thank you to Power Station. To you, my coach, Stan Nutrition. It really has been a team effort to get to this point and get me to the athlete of being where I am today. So I couldn't do it without any of you guys.
Well, Rob, I know that that means a lot for all of us that support you and around you, But what do you think as far as you particularly? I see that a lot. We heard Laws talking about it before. A lot of guys in the sport gravitate towards you. Not just because of your fantastic choice in leggings, but you just have this sort of, I'd say flair about you, but you have this sort of this unsung confidence, and you're very approachable. What do you think drives you to be not just an amazing strength athlete, but just a great overall person?
For me, it really started at a young age when I got into the sport, and just like I mentioned before, setting those goals and just really being motivated to try to achieve something bigger than myself. I think especially, coming out as gay back in 2014 and really just being a positive role model for anybody out there that may be afraid to come out and just, not be themselves is my biggest motivation. And that's something, not necessarily winning that really motivates me. It's trying to leave a really positive legacy of motivation and, just excellence in a sport and trying to, get great at your craft.
Well, we also have our two co-commentators that I'm sure are chomping at the bit to have a few comments for you. Mark?
How's it going? Well, that world record, Rob, is definitely in sight, I think. I think you're going to be putting Luke Stoltman and a few others on their toes. What do you think, Loz?
Yeah, congratulations firstly, Rob. That was a fantastic lift. I actually thought the record lift was better than your second attempt. And I think some of those big boys, Ian Bibby, Graham Hicks, Luke Stoltman, they're going to be worried. We all know Zydrunas' record isn't going to last much longer, but you are definitely in that kind of title for breaking the world record.
I think that was my goal with today's lift, just kind of really etching my name in that top echelon of log pressers in the world. I think, my name has always been around the conversation, but I think today, without a doubt, it proves to everybody in the sport of strongman and around the world that, I am one of the best log pressers in the world and the best in America. And, I think, like I said, challenging those big guys in this sport and getting up to that world record press, I think it's definitely within reach.
And Mark,
So when are we going to see it? When are we going to see it, Rob?
I think, we have to kind of look at the calendar, kind of plan it out best. I think it's amazing being a great log presser, but I want to be a great strongman. So it all has to work out perfectly. Strongman is not just about the log press. So I need to focus on some other lifts and really just get, stay as good all around as I can. But I think we can definitely build the strength on this, and I can see it happening within a few months.
I like that. I like that you want to be a good all-round strongman as well. That's good to hear, because there's some people that just specialize on one event. I know you've got bigger goals than that. But just very quickly, what do you reckon you could have done today? Because there was more in you.
I think about 220 kilos was absolutely there in my pocket.
Excellent. Really good stuff, mate. Well done.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rob.
So that rounds it off for the World's Ultimate Strongman Feats of Strength series. From the man himself, Lawrence Shalley, and myself, Mark Boyd, we thank you very much. Next week, we have Julius Maddox attempting 800 pounds in the Beast of the Bench, where we have a lineup of 8 other athletes. And we also have Jerry Pritchett and Rauno Heinla going head-to-head, 400 kilos for repetitions. What do we think of those two events, Loz?
Oh, I've been looking forward particularly to this bench attempt. 800-pound bench press, just ridiculous numbers. And also seeing our first head-to-head. 2 of the absolute best deadlifters in the world going head-to-head with 400 kilos, 880 pounds. It's going to be exciting.
No, for sure. I'm really looking forward to that one. And just a final thank you to our sponsors. Our title sponsor, Rogue. Our supporting partner, SBD. Our fueling partner, Rain Body Fuel. Our apparel partner, Gymshark. And again, one last final thank you very much. And hope you guys all enjoyed it. From me, World's Ultimate Strongman. Stay tuned for next week. Enjoy your evening.